have 25 books to talk about. And I'm going to tell you, we are missing a couple, but I'll still talk about them. Okay, so I will go right down the list. They're arranged by the author in alphabetical order, so I'll just go right down the list. Our first book is called Close to Famous. And in this book, you're going to meet Foster and her mom, who have to leave Nashville quickly because this nasty guy is after them. They end up in a little town called Culpeper, and there Foster meets some people, and they find out that everybody has some dreams. Like Foster, she would love to be the star of her own cooking show on TV. Her mom would like to be a singer for a country and western group. She meets a new friend named Macon, and Macon's goal is to be a documentary filmmaker. And then there's Miss Carlina, who used to be a movie star. But she's gotten a little older, but you know, she'd really like to be a movie star again. Everybody has dreams. Everybody is close to famous, but not quite there. And then something happens that upsets the whole community. And to find out what happens, to see how they survive, you'll need to read the book Close to Famous. This book is called Because of Mr. Terrupt, and it's written a little bit differently because you're going to meet 7 different characters. First of all, there's Jessica, who's the new girl. She's smart, and she's having a hard time fitting in. And I found out on several of these books, the kids, the main characters, are the new kid at the school and have a hard time fitting in. You're also going to meet Alexia, who's a bully. Again, there are several books where there is a bully making life miserable for our main character. There's Peter, he's a troublemaker. There's Luke, he's a brainiac. There's Danielle, who never stands up for herself. There's Anna, something nasty's going on at home for her. And then there's Jeffrey, he hates school. Now, every chapter of our book is told from a different point of view. All 7 kids are going to tell you what's happening. And if you notice here, here's how they write Alexia's name. Now, every time that they have a new chapter with a new character talking, they use a different font just to show how different each of these characters are. Well, the story, I think you'd enjoy this one because this takes place in a 5th grade classroom. And they have a brand new teacher, Mr. Terrupt, who they find out is, they think, oh, we're going to have fun with a new teacher. But they find out just how wonderful of a teacher he is. Now, there's a reason that there's a snowball in the front of this book, because what happens with this snowball is going to upset the entire classroom and change how they behave to and for each other. This is called Because of Mr. Terrupt. You guys are going to love this one. Do you guys remember the story, Click, Clack, Moo, and The Diary of a Worm? Nod your head if you remember those books. Okay, this book is written by the same author. And it's called The Trouble with Chickens, and it's a J.J. Tully mystery. So there are more in the works coming out soon. And J.J. is a dog. Actually, it's a mystery that stars animals. And J.J. Tully is a former search and rescue dog who's been retired because of his age, and now he is a detective. Well, one day, this mother chicken shows up with her 2 young chicks, whose name are Dirt and Sugar. J.J. thinks they look like a piece of popcorn with legs on them. And the problem is that some of the chicks have disappeared. And so the mom wants J.J. to find the other chicks. And if he does, she'll pay him with a cheeseburger. So he starts sniffing out clues, and he wonders if maybe Vince the Funnel might have something to do with the missing chicks. He's got a cone of shame on here. Okay, now JJ keeps sniffing around for clues, but he's not smelling the evidence right in front of him. How come? Read The Trouble with Chickens to find out. The Familiars kind of reminded me of Harry Potter because there's wizards, 3 wizards involved. And the human wizards, have each chosen what they call a familiar. And what a familiar is their pet. You know how Harry Potter had his owl? Okay. All of these wizards have chosen a pet also, and these pets have special powers. Well, we have Skylar, she's a blue jay. We have Gilbert, he's a tree frog. But then we have Aldwin. And Aldwin was just sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now everybody thinks that he has special powers. But he doesn't. He's just a plain old alley cat. Well, the three human wizards get kidnapped. And the only way to save them is if these three familiars work together to save their young masters. They're all going to use their special powers to save the day. Except Aldwin doesn't have any special powers. How can he save his human? You're going to have to read the book to find out. Okay. The next one is called Mallory Goes Green. Have you guys read any other Mallory books? Okay, and I don't know, I haven't checked to see if we have any. This is a part of a series, and I have not read any Mallory books either. As fifth graders, this would be a very easy read for you. You notice it's big print, lots of pictures. And so if you're needing to read some Iowa Children's Choice Award books in April before we vote, and you need one quick one yet, this would be the one to choose. Now the story for Mallory is that her school is going to go green, do lots of things to save the planet, ecology projects, and Mallory is on the committee. She has a great idea for a project for her classroom to do, and she can't wait to get there to school to tell everybody. But when she does, everybody thinks, this is kind of a dumb idea. She can't believe it. This is the greatest idea she's ever thought of, and nobody wants to do it. She kind of gets upset and starts pouting. What will they do as their classroom project if they don't pick her idea? And will she ever have any friends ever again? Read Mallory Goes Green, and you'll find out. Okay, this one is called Willowwood, and I kind of feel sorry for Lily. She's another one of these kids who has to leave her school, and she's just devastated. She has to leave her best friend Bailey. And as soon as she moves, it's like Bailey totally forgets about that they were ever friends. It's just devastating to her. When her mom's working, when she gets home, when Lily gets home from school, she has to go and stay with the neighbor until mom gets home. And luckily, the neighbor takes her to the pet store. And eventually, Lily gets a job working there for the pet store owner and his son. She has made an enemy of the worst bully in 5th grade, Amanda. And then there's an accident, and Lily is badly hurt. And only Amanda is there to help her. But will she? Find out what happens to Lily and at the pet store in Wildwood. Belly Up was the last one that I've finished, and it was kind of a fun one because I love mysteries. Raise your hand if you love mysteries. Okay, anybody else love reading mysteries? Okay, you would love to be Teddy, because Teddy's folks work for this place that's sort of a cross between the zoo and Disney World. Okay, so in Teddy's mom and dad work there, so Teddy gets to run all over this place. It's called Fun Jungle. Now, instead of having Mickey Mouse for like Disney World as their mascot, Fun Jungle's mascot is Henry the Hippo. Well, one day Henry turns up dead. Actually, he's belly up. And after some investigating, we find out that Henry has been murdered. Nobody seems to be taking this seriously, except for Teddy and the owner of Fun Jungle's daughter, Summer. So the two kids do a bunch of investigating, and the more questions they ask, the more trouble that they get into, that Teddy, all of a sudden, may be belly up himself because somebody is out to kill him. It's a mystery. It's got a surprise ending. I would recommend Belly Up. Do we have any horse lovers in here? Okay, you will enjoy reading about Wild Girl. In that you're going to meet Liddy. She is from Brazil, and her mom dies. So Dad and the big brother move to the United States, and she has to stay in Brazil until they earn enough money to bring her to the United States. And while she's there living with her aunt and uncle, she kind of grows up. And when she arrives in the United States, her dad and brother still treat her like she's a little kid anymore. They have, they treat her like a little kid. What they do for a living is they raise horses, and they stable horses and train them for races. Dad and the brother will not let Liddy show what a wonderful rider she is. And she's also having trouble at school. She's in a school where nobody speaks her language. She doesn't know English that well either. So Liddy finds some comfort in riding Wild Girl, the horse. I learned a lot about raising horses by reading this book, and I think you will too. Now, Turtle in Paradise is one that is set at a different time from us. It is 1935, and the United States in a time that was called the Great Depression. People did not have a lot of extra money, and so what was a common practice, if you had so many kids, you might have somebody else help raise them while you were to go look for work. Turtle is our main character, and she is sent to live with her aunt and uncle in Florida, which they call Paradise, because it's such a wonderful, beautiful state. But Turtle, again, is in a new situation. She has to get along with her cousin, her boy cousins, who don't really want her there. And in fact, they have a babysitting business, and they will not let her participate because she's a girl. And it's just kind of hard. It's a story about getting along in a new situation and being without your parents. It's kind of sad, but they do get along in some unexpected ways. And at the end, there are some pictures of what it was really like in 1935 in Florida. So I always like it when they have those real pictures. Okay, how many of you have read some Peg Carrot books? Peg Carrot. Okay, she's our next author. She has been on the Iowa Children's Choice Award list a lot. And in fact, she has won the award 6 times, which is more than any other author. This is a little different than her other books that you may have read, because this one is a ghost story. Perfect time of year to read it. In this book, you're going to meet Rusty. Rusty's walking home one day, and he sees this beautiful German Shepherd that's tied up. It's out in the hot sun, no food, no water, and you can tell this dog's been abused. And so he feels really bad about it, and then all of a sudden, a ghost dog appears next to the German Shepherd. And it's very, very evident that the ghost dog wants Rusty to save the day. So Rusty comes up with a plan. He is going to steal the dog to save it from its mean master. Question is it okay to do something wrong for the right reason? Rusty's the only one that can see the ghost dog, but he keeps urging Rusty to do things to help out other animals. So, if you like ghost stories, this would be the one for you. Also, if you're a dog lover. I felt really bad for Aubrey, because there's at the beginning of the book, there's been a terrible accident, and she loses part of her family. She's forced to go live with her grandma, but the good news is right next door is a girl just her age, and they get to be very good friends. Because of this terrible tragedy, the counselor at school says, Aubrey, why don't you start journaling? Write in a diary. And so that's how we get our title, Love Aubrey, because she does write in her journal and about her feelings of loss and grief, and she always signs it, Love Aubrey. Everything's going along wonderfully well, and then all of a sudden her mom comes back into her life and wants to take her away from her safe situation with Grandma and her new best friend. What's going to happen? Is she going to go with Mom, or is she going to stay? Question that can be answered by reading Love Operated. Okay, in Touch Blue, this one is set in Maine, and Tess and her family are lobster fishermen. And what's happening on the island? They live on an island off the coast of Maine. Well, what's happening is that there's kids are growing up and leaving the island, not coming back, and there's not enough kids to have a whole school. So the state of Maine says, okay, we're going to close the school on the island, and you're going to have to go to the mainland to go to school. Nobody wants this, so they come up with an idea. Let's bring in some foster kids, have them build up our population of kids, and that way we can keep our school open. And it does work. Tessa's family takes in a boy by the name of Aaron. He's 13 years old, he has long hair, and he plays the trumpet. And he has issues because he's been in a foster home. Tess and his family try very much to help him fit in, and almost to the point where it's overwhelming for him and he's ready to run away. How we got the title Touch Blue is that Tess is very superstitious. And in fact, each chapter begins with a superstition. Tess believes if you really want something, you make a wish, touch something blue, and then the wish will come true. As I said, each chapter begins with a different superstition, and somehow the author works that into the text. It's kind of cool how they do this. So it's a story about friendship, about families, and I learned a lot about lobster fishing from this book. The next book is called The Unwanteds, and it is the first of a series. And this one was kind of upsetting to me. It kind of reminded me of the Hunger Games, because in this land where the story takes place, when you get to be 13, you are decided if you are wanted or unwanted. Wanted kids keep going on to school and go to college and everything. Unwanteds go to the purge, and if they are unwanted, at 13, they are killed. And so on the day, the main characters are twins, Alex and Aaron. And Alex is unwanted. His twin brother Aaron is unwanted. So Alex is going to be taken to the Eliminators. And when they arrive at where the Eliminators are, the kids meet a magical person by the name of Mr. Today. And he has a hidden world. And he can save these condemned children. Alex can't forget about his twin connection with his brother Aaron, and that twin connection could destroy all of Mr. Today's plans. So it is kind of a thick book. It's got some heavy-duty subject matter, but if that's the kind of things you like to read, I would recommend The Unwanteds. Do I have any baseball fans in here? Okay, then this might be the book for you. This is called Plunked, and in it you're going to meet Jack, and Jack is a super baseball player, and now that he is in 6th grade, he has got a lock on the starting position in the Little League, on his Little League team. He has all these routines that he goes through. He's a great player, great batter, and then one day there's a wild pitch, and Jack gets plunked. All of a sudden, it just destroys all of his confidence. Will he ever be able to play baseball again? Read the book Plunked to find out what happens to Jack. Our next book is called The Long Way Home, and you guys, I have to say, this book upset me the most reading it because it is based on a very sad, true story. Actually, there are 2 stories in this book. One is set in 1985, and the main character's name is Salva, and this story really happened to him. Now I want you to imagine that you are sitting with Salva in his classroom. It takes place in Sudan, which is in Africa. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden a bomb goes off right outside our classroom. And we know that the rebel terrorists have reached our little village. The teacher looks at the kids and says, do not go home. Run and run as fast as you can, as far as you can, into the jungle, away from the terrorists. And he helps them get out the window. Salva is with a group of people who are also running, and it ends up that they walk hundreds of miles, and they go through several different countries. And his story is very sad of all the things that have happened to him. Now we're going to fast forward. That takes place in 1985. We're going to fast forward to just 10 years ago, to 2003, and we're going to meet Naya. Her sole purpose is to get water for her family to survive. She's a kid just your age, and her job is to walk 2 hours to the watering hole and 2 hours back twice a day. It takes 8 hours just to get water, and she does this every single day. There's no time for school, no time for playing. It's just survival. Okay? This is her job. It's heartbreaking reading about this, and if you read this book, I think you're going to appreciate what we have here, and it does have a hopeful ending, but it makes you realize just how fortunate we are and some of the things that other people have to go through in this world. How many of you have read any of the Dear America series? Okay, this book is one of the series, and it's called The Diary of Donnie Ray Johnson with the Might of Angels. And you know that the Dear America series are historical fiction. It's things that really happened in America. And at the end we have pictures of real people. We have Martin Luther King and Jackie Robinson here. This story takes place in the South in the late 1950s. At that time, people were expected to have different schools. The black kids would go to one school, the white kids would go to another school. It was not fair. Because at the black school, the desks were falling apart, the books had pages ripped out of them, the pencils had no erasers on them. And so the Supreme Court said, the United States Supreme Court said, you cannot have this segregation, you cannot be separated, you have to integrate, bring the blacks and the whites together. In this town, Donnie Ray is the only one that is chosen to go to the white school. And the hatred and the prejudice that she endures to reach her goal is just amazing. I think you're going to be very inspired. You guys know the story about Ruby Bridges and Rosa Parks. This is another story. This is a fictional story, but it's a very personal story that you're going to learn a lot about what happened not really that long ago in our country. Okay, is the next one Abby Cordelia's? Is that the one? Because I'm missing a couple of books, but sorry, is that the next one, Abby Cordelia?
Yeah,
okay.
Abby.
All right, you're going to love Abby. She has a magical power, only one, but it's really cool. So one day she's helping her mom fix supper, and mom says, we're going to make a salad, and there's an egg, a hard-boiled egg sitting on the counter. And Abby just happens to reach up and tug on her earlobe. The egg starts spinning. How cool is that? It's a magical power. So Abby gets invited to go to a camp, a magic camp, and there are other kids there that have special powers. Well, the ones that have the most unique powers are invited to go to a super camp. And they think, wow, this is going to be really cool. But when they get there, they find out that maybe it's more a part of a science experiment than a camp. So, and Abby and her friends are kind of being held prisoner there. Do they escape? What happens to their special power? I think you'll enjoy reading about Abby's one and only magical power. Now, is my next book about A Dog's Way Home?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one book that I don't have here to hold up and show you, but I can tell you a little bit about it. It's about a girl, again, named Abby, and she loves her dog. Anybody else have a dog in here? Okay, so you can appreciate. There's your connection. you can appreciate how upset Abby is. They're coming home from a dog show. There's a terrible accident. Mom and Abby end up in the ditch, and the dog carrier goes flying, and Tam, her dog, escapes. The whole story is how they try to get back together again. How Abby searches everywhere for Tam, and Tam is making his way home. I have to tell you, there's some pretty graphic descriptions about the bad thing that happens to the dog. Have to give you a little bit of information. But if you love reading stories about dogs, I think you're going to enjoy reading A Dog's Way Home. Okay. Here Lies Link is written by an Iowa author. She lives in Iowa City. And you know how we talked about connections and helping us with understanding what we read. Last year, I had a connection with almost all the 20-some books. This year, my strongest connection was with Here Lies Link, because, you ready for this? This book is set in Iowa City. Anybody ever been to Iowa City? You know where it is? That's where the Hawkeyes play? Okay. The book takes place in a cemetery called Oakland Cemetery, which is right on Highway 1. And they've got the map here. It takes place in this cemetery. I got to tell you, Hickory Hill Park up here, my daughter went to school in Iowa City for 8 years and lived not too far from this cemetery. She said she used to go running in Hickory Hill Park. And in fact, that's where her husband proposed to her. That's where she got her diamond ring, in Hickory Hill Park. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Iowa City. I was taking my mom to the doctor, and we were driving right by Oakland Cemetery, and I said, Mom, we got to stop. So, when we stopped, I got out, took a picture, and I will pass this around for you. This is the famous Black Angel of Iowa City. Now, that Black Angel plays a very major part in our plot of Here Lies Link. Look on this side, there's a picture of the Black Angel, and on this side, this is on the base, and down here in the corner, there's some writing that you can't read, but again, it plays a very important part in the plot, Here Lies Link. Okay? So I'm going to pass this around for you to look at as I'm talking. Now, like I said, this story takes place in the cemetery in Iowa City. Link and his friends, their school assignment are to go to the cemetery, choose a tombstone, and do research on the family or the person that's buried there. Well, his friend decides that she's going to research the Black Angel. And there's some myths or stories about this Black Angel, which my daughter told me are true, that she's heard them too. Kind of scary things that happen around the Black Angel. Why was his friend choose the Black Angel? As they're doing research, they find out some secrets about Link's own family that he didn't even know existed. I have the most connections with Here Lies Link, and I would highly recommend this book to you. Okay, remember when you were in 2nd grade and I read Stinky Cheese Man to you? Mm-hmm. Yep. This book is written by the same guy, John Seiska. Wrote Spaceheads. He also wrote Stinky Cheese Man. Now, Michael is a new kid in the new school. The theme that's gone through several of these books. And he knew things were going to be weird, but he just didn't know how weird in his new school. He's put in the lowest reading group with 2 other new kids who turn out to be aliens. Now, there just didn't happen to, not only are there 2 kids who are aliens, but their leader is Major Fluffy, the classroom hamster. He's also an alien. And it's up to Michael and the 2 aliens to save Earth. And the fate of the whole world lies in Michael K's hand. Can he do it? And by the way, this is book 1, so that tells me there are going to be other books about Michael and the aliens. This next book is my thickest book. And you'll say, look at it and say, oh, Mrs. B, there's no way I am going to read this fat book. But let me tell you, It is written by the same man, Brian Selznick, who wrote The Invention of Hugo Cabaret, who won the Caldecott Medal a couple years ago, and also the Iowa Children's Choice Award. I did a little bit of research, and they told me that there are 460 pages of artwork. So even though it's a very thick book, most of it is pictures. Okay? 406 pages of artwork, or excuse me, 460 pages, 608 pages altogether. Now, in this story again, in this book again, there are two stories. Okay? One is the story of Rose, and that's set in 1927. And Rose's story is told all in pictures. Then there's Ben's story, who happens 50 years later, in 1977, and his is all text. Both characters, Rose and Ben, are deaf. Both characters run away to New York City to find someone that they're looking for. How they get these two people together, Ben and Rose, 50 years apart, how their two stories get together, you will be wonderstruck by how it all ends. Okay? Okay, is My Life as the Book the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not one that I don't have a copy of right now. In that book, you're going to meet Derek. And Derek is what we call a reluctant reader. He does not like to read. And what his teacher has suggested he's going to do is every time he comes across a new word that he doesn't know, he should illustrate it, draw a picture. So throughout the book, there are pictures, probably 2 or 3 pictures on every page of books of words that you may not know. But Derek has illustrated them for you. On the last day of school, the teacher gives him an assignment, the whole class. She's going to be their teacher again next year. Over this summer, class, I want you to read 3 books. Choose one of them and write a report for it. And he's thinking, oh yeah, right. I'm not going to be reading all summer. I've got things to do. Like, he finds out from a newspaper clipping a mystery that involves his former babysitter. And so one of the things he does that summer is to solve a mystery. So, does he ever get his assignment done? You're going to have to read My Life as a Book to find out. The other book that I do not have, and we do not have it here at Sageville yet, we are working on getting it. It's called The Wish Stealers, but I can tell you a little bit about it. In that book, you're going to meet Griffin. One day she goes to the neighborhood antique store, and there's a nasty old lady who tricks her into taking this old box. When Griffin gets home, she opens it up and she finds 11 pennies. And what she finds out, these are old Indian head pennies. These aren't just pennies, these are stolen wishes. And she also finds out whoever possesses the box is cursed as a wish stealer. The only way to break this curse is to return the pennies to the people who made the wishes. The people are probably dead. And if she, as a wish stealer, every wish she makes, not only does it not come true, it's the opposite. So if she wishes, I hope I win this race, she'd come in last. So anything she does, opposite. So this is called The Wish Stealers, and hopefully we're going to get a copy of it in the very near future. We live right across the river from the land of Lincoln in Illinois. This book is about Abraham Lincoln, and it gave me a different insight to him as a father, and the things that he liked to do with his 2 sons, Willie and Tad. If nothing else, you guys, this is a very short book. You will enjoy, as I did, the wonderful, wonderful pictures that are through it. They're not just pictures, they're more like paintings. They're just beautiful books. And I think you're going to learn something about our president, Abraham Lincoln, and the fun things that he used to do with his boys. This is called Lincoln and His Boys. Our last book here is also written by an Iowa author, It's called The Luck of the Buttons, and you are going to love meeting Tug's Button. She's spunky, she's courageous, and she has a fierce sense of family loyalty. Tug's also is curious. A man comes to town and he is going to, he promises to bring a newspaper to this small Iowa town. The year is 1929. And Tug's is the only one in town that's kind of suspicious of this guy. How can he bring a newspaper to their town, and why would he do it? Tug's is the only person that is going to be able to save the town from financial ruin. And how she does it is kind of interesting. I think you'll enjoy reading The Luck of the Buttons. Okay, how many of you found at least one book that you just can't wait to read? Okay, you guys know that these Iowa Children's Choice Award books, how many of you, show me with your fingers, how many of you have to read to be able to vote? Okay, you have to read just 2 of them, okay? We will be voting the first part of April. Kids across the state of Iowa are going to be reading these books this year. These books have all been nominated by kids in grade 3 through 6, and it's only kids in grades 3 through 6 who get to vote for the award. Thank you for being such wonderful listeners. And how many people think that make it a goal that they're going to vote in April? All right. Thank you very much. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I appreciate it.